Hi, Vincent. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's a great opportunity to talk to you about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are kicking off DEI week with this video. So I wanted to get your perspective now that you became the CEO of the company. There are so many new topics and existing topics that keep you busy. How do you see the role of DEI in all of that?
I think the real importance of DEI right now is that it is actually baked in how we live our purpose, our values, and how we think about driving the business. We're in the middle of a super complex transformation. We have had to rely on tons of backgrounds, capabilities, people coming from all over the world, from very different fields of expertise. And we learn, I think, more every day why this diversity of opinion is so important in order for us to drive the transformation that we're driving. You know, I've tried to build that into the ELT as an integrated part of how we think about driving the business. And I think that inclusive leadership is something we talk a lot about just in the first few meetings that we have had with the ELT, and something I really want to encourage everybody to really lean into and think about the fact that the problems we have to solve now, they are problems that none of us can solve alone. We're going to need to have a lot more diversity of opinion, a lot more diversity of experience, different walks of life, different perspectives, so that we don't get blindsided and run ourselves down an alley that really doesn't help us.
And being on a massive transformation and so many additional external factors impacting the business, impacting society, is there a risk, do you feel, that DEI can become a depriority?
So I think for Maersk, definitely not. Because I just mentioned the necessity of the transformation. For us, we need to have that diversity. There's no way we can execute what the plans that we have set out to do if we don't rely on much more diversity of thoughts and perspective than what we have had in the past. But DEI is also important for another reason. Not just the business stuff, but also just simply our values as human beings and how we want to be in a society. And there, you know, for a long time there was encouraging senses that this was just going in one way, and it was a question about keeping up the momentum and keeping on challenging ourselves to get to a fully inclusive environment. Unfortunately, at least for me, I see a lot of things when I read the papers or when you just, you know, talk to people around the world, that some of the things that we thought were table stakes or acquired, or some of these rights, and it looks like they're being challenged again. And I think it's important for us also to stand for what we believe and create that environment where people can be the best version of themselves and can actually have a happy life and feel that they are accepted for who they are.
Yeah, thank you. In regards to the inclusive leadership that you speak about, how would you like to further install that in the organization? What are you asking from your leadership population?
I think that we are all in front of challenges at the personal level, at the personal leadership level, that will require that we add a lot of tools in our toolbox. And that demands that we surround ourselves with a lot of people who can help us acquire those tools. And it's really leaning into this and being, you know, comfortable not being the one who knows everything, being comfortable being challenged in some of our ways of thinking, and being open and making sure also that everybody has a space. Sometimes you have to solicit the input rather than just run with the first 2 points of views that just resonate with you. You have actually to look for the dissonance, look for the diversity, and make sure you give it space to foster. I think that's an important part of the leadership program that we're having with Susanna and with yourself, on how we're trying to build this culture that helps us be agile, be fast, but also still give this moment, this pause for us to think and get the diversity of perspective that would help us actually balance this right. I don't know for you if that resonates well. You also have many different priorities. DEI is a very evolving field. Yeah. So what are your key priorities here?
Well, if I look at where we come from and where we are today and where we would like to go to, then I would really like to build on this leadership perspective and how can we activate and empower our leaders. And what I've seen in the past weeks or months of taking on this role is that people have very different perspectives on what D&I means to them personally, but also what does it mean in their leadership style. And in order to make sure that we really do that well, it's not one shoe fits all. So I rather have individual approaches with the leaders in order to tell them and help them and equip them to do D&I well. And that means that for some of them it will be much more focused about psychological safety, and for others it will be much more about hiring the right talent and creating that diverse talent field in order to recruit them well. So there are different angles, and we are working in the team in order to create a menu of choices and actually basically to help and equip our leaders. And on top of that, D&I is not a people function responsibility. It's really a business obligation, it's a business leadership tool, and it's also hence a business responsibility. And I think in that sense we also need to run it a little bit more as a business. And I mean with that is that we don't do that much performance management around D&I. We don't have a really operating model, a drumbeat. Why don't we have this? This is also a very important KPI for the company, like you said, based on purpose and values, but also to attract the whole talent field and also to serve our customers. Our customers are also not identical. So we need to make sure that we work with our customers also from a D&I perspective.
There's one thing that I'm really happy in your answer, and it is that you don't start by this making the numbers and ticking the box, but it is actually presenting DEI as a leadership assignment on all of us. Yes, eventually that needs to add up also to having a diverse representation, whether it is gender, nationalities and so on. Yeah. But it is first and foremost not about ticking the boxes. It is actually about creating this environment and this culture that is the true embodiment actually of our values. And so I think that's, I can only applaud this approach, because one of the things that in my career I've sometimes struggled with is when that becomes a tick the box type of exercise, because it just makes the stats look good, but the intent behind it is not the right one. Yeah. And then you get into something where you know the numbers look right, but you don't get the outcome that you're looking for. Exactly. And the outcome is actually that DEI is good for business. Yes. That's why we do it. Of course, there is this value dimension and so on. But if it was bad for business, you know, that's not something that we would probably be advocating as forcefully as we do here. So for me, that's this approach and this evolution that there is now towards making it more of a leadership and not something about ticking the boxes is super, super important for everybody to really integrate. And I can only say that having this approach where this is something that you talk about in performance appraisal, coaching, personal development plans and so on, how do we become better at this, is certainly important, because I can see in the course of my career, I've had teams that were very, very non-diverse. You go fast. You can make quickly get into groupthink and you know, quick decisions. And sometimes at the beginning, when you have more diverse teams, it takes more time to get to the decisions. It's more time to forge consensus. You need to rely on different tools. You need to actually welcome the diversity rather than look at it as something that slows you down. And it just takes a bit of getting used to. And for a lot of us, it can be daunting because there is a lot of pressure on delivering, and we talk a lot about how speed is important. So there are some tensions there, and I think making it part of the leadership conversation in the company is super, super important.
Yeah, and it's hard to grasp the topic in totality, because when you also start talking about it and you are opinionated about it, you might actually exclude another part of the population. And that is something that we don't want to. We want to make sure that it's inclusive for all. And like you were saying, you can have a very diverse team, but if there's no inclusion, then you still don't get diversity of thought. You still don't have people being their authentic self. So there's so many things to do it, and that's why I really believe by taking it as a leadership responsibility, we will be able to move things faster forward. Yeah.
And that's, I think, is the only way we're going to be successful with what we want to do as a team, as an organization, as a company, for our customers, for our strategy, for our shareholders, for all the stakeholders that we have. Actually, for me, this is really important. The time where we can just simply do a little bit of incremental improvement and use the same tools we had in the toolbox and just say, you know, we get a little bit better at it every year, that time is gone. And there is also a need for us in there to really make sure that we create that environment that allows for that to really, really foster and be self-sustained. And today it's not the case. We've been at it for a while. We've made some progress, But we also have to realize when we do surveys and stuff, there's also a lot of stuff in the data when you look at it that it hurts to read.
Exactly.
You would like it.
Yes.
You would like us to be further along and live up more to the creeds of our values in that stage, right? So we need to foster this, and it's going to be something that we need to continue to work on. As a responsible owner of the topic in the organization, what is your key milestone or your deliverable for 2023?
By the end of this year, I would really like that our leaders feel that they are getting the tools in the toolkit and that they feel more comfortable speaking and acting on DE&I. And that might not immediately translate into actually increased performance in regards to our targets, because this is a journey that will take time. But I would like to see that people feel comfortable with the topic. And that is a bit soft, I realize that, but I do feel that the buzz and being comfortable around it will be experienced by our colleagues, and that will create that authenticity, the less groupthink, new ideas, more innovation, etc. So I think we will see it coming, but we need to make sure that we equip, and that equipping is part of the 2023, so that actually in 24 we will even take it further forward and accelerate on the targets. That's the plan.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Vincent. It was lovely to talk to you about D&I, and thank you for your commitment also. And we look forward to partnering with you and the ELT and the rest of the organization to move this topic forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.